Responsible gun owners. It is what we all strive to be. Lives depend on it. Liberals want to claim we are a danger to society. But what happens when an ultra-liberal candidate for governor and former sheriff loses, that's right, loses the firearm given to her by her department? Here's what happens. We call her out as a gun safety hypocrite. Former Dallas County Sheriff Lupe Valdez now admits she can't find her service weapon. She even acknowledges it could have been stolen. This is a woman pushing the importance of more gun control. Remember, she wrote a piece in the Houston Chronicle calling for tougher penalties on people who recklessly store their firearms. Sheriff, that's you, apparently. Just another liberal poser. Even the Dallas Morning News, a liberal paper, mind you, came out with the headline, "If we can't trust Lupe Valdez with a gun, can we trust her with the governorship?" It's a valid question, one I'm surprised the left-wing paper had the courage to ask. Valdez said it could have been misplaced while she was transitioning out of her sheriff's office. But as a gun owner, I ask, how can this happen? I recently moved. I didn't let movers go anywhere near my firearms. I moved them myself, with my everyday carry gun on my hip the whole time. It's nearly impossible to lose a gun when you take the necessary precautions that must go into moving any firearm, which means those precautions were not taken by Lupe Valdez. What if the sheriff's gun was stolen? What if it's used in a crime? Let's pray that never happens. But Lupe Valdez just lost the right to criticize law-abiding gun owners or tell us how to handle our firearms when she can't even handle her own. When violence is tolerated, it spreads like wildfire. When violence becomes the norm, not the exception, it becomes more prevalent. When you become used to violence, there is less of an urgency to stop it. This is true in countries like Somalia, Iraq, even now Brazil. It's also true in cities like Chicago, Detroit, and St. Louis. You can even say it's true inside any home plagued with violence. A wife forced to endure endless attacks is less likely to report her abuse than a first-time domestic assault victim. Kids in our inner cities go to bed at night hearing gunshots. Think about it. Hearing no gunshots in one evening is a rarity in some neighborhoods. As children get older, they see teenagers die, people they know and grew up with. That should never be the norm. Today, in far too many places, it is. The more widespread it is, the violence continues. The more parents have to deal with it. Instead of demanding action, in Chicago, we are seeing signs that the community is fed up. They want change, and it starts from the top. More and more Chicagoans are calling for the resignation of Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who for far too long ignored the violence and treated it simply as a way of life in the hood. It should never be that way. All the while, he was trying to disarm the citizens of Chicago. It's up to each of us to demand proactive policing. It takes each of us to talk about real solutions, not the whimsical dream of a gun-free zone that we know will never exist. As a society, we must never, ever look at violence as normal. The moment it rears up, we must demand it be snuffed out. It starts with those closest to it, the people living it. They need to speak up, cry out, and demand elected leaders listen to their calls for help. Until we fundamentally shift our views in our inner cities that violence cannot be tolerated, the violence will continue.